Hey guys, welcome back to Winter Wolves. Winter Wolf here. King Z is going to be joining me in a quick second. We've got a brand new show to talk about. It's been a long time coming. I wish I could say I was happy that it wasn't vaporware, but it's absolutely not vaporware. We're going to talk about the Acolyte. Yeah. And there's the co-pilot extraordinaire, buddy. What's going on, man? Thank you for joining.
Good.
um, as we try to unboomer our way through the StreamYard upgrade. But all that nonsense aside, I'm stoked. Like I just said, we finally got a new show instead of just doing the week to week movie coverage. It's always cool when we get to chat about shows because we usually have wildly different opinions on the Star Wars and Disney stuff. Mostly on the Star Wars stuff, we're often in line with some variation. I think the movies is where we're mostly more in line, but this shows are much different for us. But I don't know, man. I say we just jump right into it because we got 2 episodes to cover. Like I was
Yep.
telling folks in the intro, the Acolyte dropped yesterday, 9 o'clock Eastern, but it did the 2 episode thing. And as predicted, as is kind of the norm for the Disney stuff, and dude, I think this is just where these shows are. We got run times that are close to a half hour, just north of a half hour. They weren't
Yep.
crazy big, and I say that as a guy that just finished watching like the first 4 seasons of Game of Thrones in like the last week and a half. So I have a very harsh prism for quality in my head for shows right now.
Well, I
Seasons
mean,
one
we're
through four of
coming
Game of Thrones.
off us watching Band of Brothers here recently as
Yep.
well.
Yeah,
So,
and that right, exactly. And every episode of that show ran almost an hour. You know what I mean? With great writing, great character development, and all that good stuff. But the Acolyte is a trip back to the galaxy far, far away and a long time ago, and all that good stuff.
a
For
further long
those of
time ago.
it's even further because this is, as I was just about to say, this is a High Republic based show, which
Yep.
is a creation of Disney's print arm that came out probably what do you think, 3 or 4 years ago? The High Republic novels rolled out, their comics I think
Yeah.
rolled out. It's not. I don't think it's been 5. I think it's about 3 or probably 4. I would say 3 or 4, right? And it hits up a time frame that never covered in video games. It's not covered in novels because, like I said, this is brand new. It's never been in live action or cartoons. A strike that. I think it has been in cartoons recently. Maybe some of that Tales of the Jedi on Disney Plus might have had some High Republic era. I don't know. I didn't watch the animated thing there. But this is 100 years or so before the prequel trilogy. So,
Yes.
you're not getting any Vader, you're not getting any Luke. You might get some Yoda down the stretch, and we'll give you guys a woo for spoilers like we usually do. We'll just get some broad things out of the way up front. There's some non-spoilery broad things out of the way up front. But dude, I don't do you want to kind of kick off a discussion and just give like a brief overview before we start getting into like the meat and bones? Like just if I smacked you in the face and you only had a one-word answer or maybe a three-word answer, because I'll be fair. What did you think of the first 2 episodes, broadly speaking?
How many words do I have?
I'll give you 5. I'm generous there. The wolf is generous. 5.
Not as bad as I was expecting.
Not as bad as I was. All right, that's like 7, but okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Fair. Fair take. Um, let's see if I can do this in 5. Not as bad as Boba Fett. Okay, so I got it done in 5. Or not as bad as Kenobi. I got it done in 5.
Not as bad as Ahsoka?
Not
Well, I
as bad as that's fine. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so if you have a one-word name, yeah, we can bang it in 5.
think.
You know what? I would say for me, and before we get into like the specifics of the show, dude, for me, I think it was right about with Ahsoka. Actually, I mean, I had a pretty good Facebook rant going last night. I don't know if you went back to that thread just to check in at all, the one I tagged you in, but I basically used that Facebook conversation as like note keeping for all the crap I was gonna kind of gripe about today, which is kind of funny. A lot of our friends from high school and whatnot were dipping in and out of that to check in. I'm trying to find that now. Now it's pretty buried down there. It is. I'm gonna have that ready for later. But dude, I think it was as bad as Ahsoka. Honestly, like I'm not impressed with anything I've seen so far. Like I said, we'll talk about specifics. Um, what stood out the most to me is the juvenile fan fiction writing, in particular, not just like the storytelling, but the dialogue itself. People don't talk like that except in bad movies, where it's very ham-fisted, on the nose. People are saying exactly what's going on, exactly what they're thinking and feeling every stretch. There's no subtext. There's nothing subtle. I hate you. You're my friend, please believe. Like it's too much. It's soft, dude. It's soft. It's not Andor by any stretch, and that's the best they've done live action wise besides like Mando one, I think. So I don't know.
Mando season
What do you think
one,
about all that?
parts of season two.
And two, yeah. The obvious, and with the obvious conclusion of season two being their absolute high point. But again, how much of that was good writing versus just finally giving us the character we wanted coming back and being himself for 3 minutes, you know? But all right, so I don't know how like it's 2 episodes. I don't want to do the frame by frame, scene by scene thing anymore. I mean, maybe an episode synopsis, like a setup. We can just talk about episode one real quick and just kind of introduce folks to like the cast of characters, like what the overarching storyline is going to be. Because it's only 8 episodes. It's not going to be a long one. You know, I don't see
Mm,
this honestly ever coming back for a season two. The High Republic era in novels and comics does not sell well. A lot of those titles have been dropped. I don't think this doesn't have longevity stamped
yeah.
on it as far as I'm concerned.
So to answer your question of when the High Republic started coming out, it was first published in January 5th, 2021.
Oh, okay. So I was in that 4 year mark. That's like
Yeah, it was first branded in December of 2020.
yeah, I remember hearing about it right at the beginning of the just ahead of the pandemic in North America was right about when we were starting to hear about some of that stuff. You guys might remember the High Republic for its highlight classic characters like Geo, the ship pilot, and other stupid things that they have in that world. But so
Mm,
this show here, right, episode one, and dude, I don't even really care what the title was because I think every title is going to have a like a
Lost
split
and
to it, given the.
Found.
But then the second one is, if you have it right in front of you, it also has two words with the slash because of the dynamic of the show with the spoiler alerts, guys. Spoilers. Ah,
Yeah.
it's got twins. Yay, big deal.
y-
We've done
Yeah.
Star Wars and twins before. So I think every title is going to have that dual, cleverly, I guess, have a dual meaning to it. You know what I mean? It'll have that split. But yeah, go ahead, dude. Yeah, yeah. I've been
Yeah,
rambling. What do you think?
the
Elaborate.
first one is Lost and Found, the second one is Revenge and Justice.
Exactly. So I think, and I have a feeling 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 are all going to follow that format. I don't see why they change it. It is actually fairly clever. I'll give them that. So the setup here for the Acolyte is we've got, and I'm going to editorialize this. So just deal with it, guys. Sorry, I don't like this show. I'm not going to hide any of that. I'm not going to veil any of that. The setup of the show is we have yet another disillusioned, and stop me if you've heard this, another disillusioned former Padawan who's out for Jedi blood for reasons. They'll get into that hopefully. We got a mystery box and a couple of setups for that.
So
And
she was
she's got
never a Padawan. Her sister was.
her and that's the gimmick, I guess, is the sister was the Padawan that dropped out because of her failed teacher. But this one
Mm,
has some force powers and gets trained elsewhere as they try to reveal. Good correction. She's
mm,
got the aforementioned by the series showrunner Leslie Headland, that's Harvey Weinstein's former assistant. Read into that what you will. Who envisioned this show as a mashup between Frozen and Kill Bill. And right off the rip, we get a character who's got a kill list. You know, she's got 4 people
mm.
she needs to bump off. These are the Jedi that we're going to find out were involved with what she thought was the death of her sister. And then, you know, the other sister who's not the evil one kind of has a vice versa outlook on that kind of thing.
Yep.
So and that's the show is they're going to reveal hopefully who her master is. We get a stupid look at that at the end of the episode, much in the same way the end of Solo was dumb, where Darth Maul showed up and ignited his lightsaber over a hologram for some reason for effect, and then at the end this jackass is standing on a rock by himself and lights the lightsaber. Because I know when I'm standing around my lightsaber, basically I stand on the slippery rocks and just open the lightsaber, just stare at it.
Well, I mean, to be honest, if I had a
Perfect.
lightsaber, that I probably
Yeah,
would wear off the on
honestly,
and off.
yeah, I know. I mean, yeah, dude, that's because you probably would just, yeah, because you would just have one just now. It would be new. I'm to believe this guy's a pro. You know what I'm saying? Get your pro together, man. Get your pro together. But so it basically the show. It's just like the rest of these Disney shows, man. Like everything just happens. There's no complication. There's no obstacle for anybody really to overcome. Everything the plot needs to happen just happens. Like it just goes. And I realize, I think in retrospect, that that's just what these shows are always going to be in that 30-minute time frame. They can't be anything but. It can't be Game of Thrones You know what I
It
mean? It
can't
can't be
it
The
can't be
Sopranos.
it can't yeah, I mean, because they had more episodes to do stuff. Yeah,
Right. And they're
I mean,
longer.
even Game of Thrones, like, you're looking at, like, 15 to 20 minutes longer, and you're looking at 2 extra episodes.
Yep.
I mean, and then if you go to, like, TV like we used to watch, like Fringe, X-Files,
Isles. Yep.
Friends, they had 23 episodes to tell a story during a whole season, and they don't have that with this show because they are only doing 8 episodes.
But I mean, don't you think that's a tactical drawback for the brand at this point? Like they're getting nothing meaningful done. I mean, again, we had Ahsoka, we had Kenobi, we had Boba Fett, and I feel like all of those shows should have just been stripped down even further, cut out all the side quest subplot bullshit, and you know that's coming in this show too, and just give me a damn 2 hour movie and call it, and just effing call it. You know, there's like think
Well, I
like
mean,
let's, let's go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
you still get more time than you have in a 2-hour movie. I mean, when you're trying to shut one, you're competing with depleting attention spans.
Attention
So
spans. Yep.
they are playing into that with the shorter type episodes to try
Mhm.
to get and try to streamline the plot, because give them credit, they do know their audience of this new generation of Star Wars fans. They don't have the attention span. Like, you can look at that.
Do they?
Go look at movies that are like
Do they?
3 hours long, and then look at
Yeah.
movies that are hour and a half long, and see which one brings in more money.
You're exactly right because the shorter run times allow for more viewings of the show first and foremost. But I throw the challenge for we got to get that. We got to get a digital or an effect or a challenge flag being there. We need that. I think they don't know their audience at all here. I think they assume that audience is into Star Wars in 2024, and I don't think they are. I think kids. I'm just going to say kids, guys. No offense. We love all our viewers. We know we have some viewers that skew younger than our group. We have some people in the audience that definitely skew older than our group. Everybody's welcome. When I say kids, it just means everybody younger than me. No offense. You guys are great.
Which
But
is a good
kids,
majority of people.
definitely, dude, you're older than I am, Dick. Wait, anyway,
I know, right?
um, right? But kids defined as like people my son's age, you know, anywhere between like 8 and 20, say, right? They're not into Star Wars like we are anymore. And I can prove that because the viewing numbers for all of these shows are lower and lower with every installment. The return on investment for their live action movies is lower and lower. People, you know who buys more Star Wars toys than anybody else? Us. Like you can go to Ollie's and Target and get High Republic, Rise of Skywalker crap on clearance before these projects even come out. You know what I mean? Like the audience, the audience for movies in general, right, is different than what the audience is for Star Wars at this point. And I think Lucasfilms has got that wrong. And that's why they keep making these things like live action cartoon Acolyte, and they're not translating into return for them. Like, dude, do you know what the budget for this show was? Just as an aside, did you catch that?
No, I didn't.
Dude, a buck 90, right? For 8 episodes of this crap. You know what the budget for Dune 2 was? 180 million. You get that, guys? You get that? You know what Dune 2 return box office, ladies and gentlemen? About 785 million. Nobody is subscribing to Disney Plus to watch this show. Nobody. People
And
will
that
absolutely cancel Disney Plus to get away from this show, but nobody's signing up as a new customer not attached to a cell phone deal to watch this. This costs them money unequivocally.
that's a lot of stuff that's coming out now. Like, a lot of
Yeah.
these streaming services are making, like, original content to pull viewers to buy their streaming, and, like, no matter what they do, it's just not good. And I mean, when you're playing with Hollywood and you do want to compete for set awards, because then they have the nice little graphic they could put on or for the
Yep.
nomination,
Yep.
you do have to do certain things, and it's like they sacrifice story to be able to be recognized in the media in Hollywood.
For sure. And dude, that's a whole separate issue. And this is the one thing I was going to say ahead of time that I forgot to mention is I intend on destroying this show on the merit of its own show without using the typical buzzwords that some, channels in our sphere use. I'm not going to mention outside of this. I'm not going to mention ESG. I'm not going to mention DEI. I'm not going to use the word woke. I'm not going to use any of that stuff, any of those buzzwords, because this show empirically sucks on a writing level, on a dialogue level, and on a performance level, sadly, through a couple of people. I think that the narrative of this show of following this one the twins, because like I said, there's two of them. It's not an it's an interesting enough idea. I guess the revenge tale is a classic, but their execution through 2 episodes has been effing awful,
I can
awful.
the one thing I can say in a positive on this was choreography. Uh,
The
the
fight
the
choreography.
yeah, it's been
Yeah,
pretty
I got
sweet.
you, dude. I got you, dude. Listen, I have some pluses. Don't get me wrong, because this is the one in trying to be more like you. I've tried to come up with a couple of nice little accolades here and there where I can. I'll give them two. The fight choreography is infinitely better than it was in Ahsoka. I don't know if
Mm,
the actress playing Osha slash May does if she trained up and does her own stunts for that kind of stuff. I mean, that was the little girl from Hunger Games. That was Rue from Hunger Games from back in the day. That's who that is. So I don't know
okay.
if that's her or if there's somebody else, but they punched up those scenes and they did all right for the two that she had. And she had three, I guess, if you run them all together. But what I had that there's a flip to that though is aesthetically, it's not Star Wars. So it instantly yanks me right out of Star Wars when I'm watching The Matrix. And that's what that was. They brought Carrie Ann Moss in to be Trinity to set the tone for the Kill Bill style fights they were going to have, right down to that particular I don't know the proper word for it. Somebody can let me know. There's that style of music that accompanies those old kung fu battles. It was in Kill Bill. It's in The Matrix, and during that, like where Neo trains with Morpheus, that establishing shot where everything's still. It's like
Mm,
like that. It's all over Ghost of Tsushima. Like this, they plastered this show with that style to cover up, I think, the weaknesses that it had in the writing. It looks slick, but if you look past the slick, you're right back to not caring about any of the characters. Like, dude, name every character you can think of. Go.
Soul.
Got it. Yep.
Yep. And then there's May, and I can't remember the twin sister's name because May just
OSHA.
easy to remember.
Yep.
Oh yeah, Osha, Yonder or Yond,
Oh,
and then there's the Wookiee.
yep. So you missed like four of them, and the Wookiee who we saw in 3 seconds at the end of episode 2. Like that's it, because you don't care about these characters, and that's my point. Besides maybe the lead, like the good twin, maybe. Because I'll say this, and I think you'll agree here: Osha's not a Mary Sue, not yet. When she gets taken into custody for stupid reasons, and I'm about to rip that, right? When she gets taken into custody and the escape attempt happens and she's trying to use the force to pick up the droid to unlock the cell and shit, like she doesn't do it. Like she's cut off from the force, all that good stuff. Like at least they knew that. Like they knew they had to make her likable and not a Mary Sue. Dude, she might be the greatest Jedi since Yoda in 3 episodes. I don't know. But for right
Hmm.
now, she's not the worst thing about the show. The performance is flat, but the character's fine. I'll say that. I don't know if you wanted to comment on Osha, May, or either of the others in particular. Like, hey, let's do like,
Uh,
did you have a character you like the most? Not care about like.
no, I like the fight
See,
choreography.
see, dude, that right. So I'm saying you cycle back to that one thing. The other plus I'd give it is some of the scoring, like the music is okay. It sounds like Star Wars to me. Like it sounds like typical Star Wars. It's not particularly inventive. It's not particularly creative or stirring, but at least it sounds like Star Wars scoring. Unlike when Sabine was riding her hover bike away in Ahsoka and she's got like the stupid K-pop stuff bumping in her headset. And I'm like, dude, no, that's real life 2024. No, 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 no. This sounded like Star Wars. You know what I mean? It was just there. It was that melodic John Williams esque. It's not John Williams, but it was there and it was effective. So fight choreography and scoring, I guess. Performances, dude, wooden, flat, either Osha or May. Do they emote ever? I mean, May yells once when she says, "My sister died." Brr! Like
Yeah,
she's
that's
not
about the only time.
intimidating at all.
Yeah, yeah. Um, the apothecary guy was pretty. He was pretty spot on.
I mean, the performance was good, but he had some of the worst effing dialogue. Like
Yeah,
the worst written, like written. You know what I mean? Like the dialogue. Like he says, I just watched episode 2 again. When he's telling May's the bad one, right?
yeah.
May's the
May's
bad one.
bad.
Okay. He's like, hey, I know where the Wookiee Jedi is. He goes, it's on a relaxing forest retreat on Kofar. Dude, nobody talks like that. Nobody talks like that. It instantly the subtitle jumped off on my screen and slapped me. Like, no, like no. And there's little elements of that everywhere. Like the first conversation Saul has with Vernestra, the green skinned master of the Jedi Order council lady. Like she's literally like, we have to go bring in OSHA. Be discreet.
Mhm.
And then he goes, yes, or our enemies may be able to use this against us. Like, dude, of course, stupid. Like, no, like, do better. Like, do effing better. And it's probably, like I said, because I just watched Game of Thrones and I've seen better yesterday before I watched episodes 1 and 2. It just shines a spotlight on how awful it is. Because even if we can't go big with like having an hour-long episode to cover more ground and character development, the dialogue then should be the best effing thing they give me besides the effects.
I think the only one who had like really like good dialogue was Carrie Ann Moore. It's like she acted like a Jedi Master would in
Mhm.
a random off world area.
Yep. Yep. And she's gone. Like that's a
Yeah,
wrap. Like we'll get her in a couple. My prediction will be we get her in flashbacks after the fact as we see what really happened 16
yeah.
years ago. You know what I mean?
And
And the other guy from episode 2 will be the
the other thing I did
same.
like that was pretty cool, and they hinted at it in the original trilogy, was the connection of the Force between twins and like how they pulled each other into their
Hmm.
dreams. That was a pretty cool thing because you saw that they were both Force touched, or I don't know if they got rid of metachlorians or not, but
That's still
they have
canon
the
as best
Force.
I know. I think that's still a thing. I think. But yeah, they're both force sensitive or force
Force
attuned.
sensitive. That's
What it
it.
was
Force
is sensitive.
sensitive.
Yeah, I knew it was something like that. Yep. And they did that in the
And
sequel trilogy too. Remember, Kylo and Ray had elements of that where they could do the Force Skyping thing and the Force teleporting of objects across
yeah,
great distances, but then
that
nobody ever thought to use that as a technology for shipping. Whatever. What do I know?
well,
The
maybe they
things that they
did.
break.
Remember, the Jedi were wiped out with Order 66. There's probably
Yeah.
some lost technology in there.
Dude, the exact second that dickhead gave her the lightsaber through Force telekinesis, they should have given up fighting the Emperor, who should have been dead, and gone back and opened up a new Amazon.com or Doles or bring back Doles or whatever,
Well,
DHL, whatever it was.
technically, he shouldn't have died, or she should have pulled him back to where he
Force healed him.
was. Yeah. Oh no,
Force
no.
healed him
Didn't he fall down?
at the end. He did, but then he came back up, and they did the whole kiss thing, and he saved
Mm.
her life, but used the rest of his energy to save. It's all very poorly explained, but that's a different thing of Star Wars that sucks. So we're gonna go back to the Acolyte because we just got way sidetracked. It's not that there's yeah, there we go. It's not that
That's what we're
there's
talking
things
about,
that you
everybody.
that's the thing right there. It's in the middle. Right. Oh, there's the camera. There we go. So dude, that those are the things we like. Here's some more of the stupid things that I just can't get past. And I feel like if there was you got a group of people working on these things, and I don't understand how some of these things just bypass basic quality control. Like, let's not talk about stupid nitpicks like they're setting up the OSHA character to be like the likable lead. And fine, like she seems chipper and friendly and she's nice and everything else. She's a mechanic, so they're building that skill set in. So when she bypasses a compressor later, Ray style, we won't be like, oh, how the hell did she know how to do that? Like, no, she's a mechanic. We saw her working in that capacity. Cool, you know. But
And I
like,
thought you would bring it
she
up
blows up
in
a
that
part.
scene.
I'm about to because I know because it's on my list. They break apart on the outside of the ship they're fixing, and there's fire in space.
They
Fire,
need a helmet to
and
breathe
it
oxygen,
burns.
but it
Right,
burns.
but it burns. And like, I know somewhere somewhere on YouTube, someone's gonna be like, "You didn't complain when there was fire on the Death Star when they exploded it, or when
But
Red
it didn't
One
burn.
got shot
It
down, but it didn't
it
burn in the original
flew
effect.
and then
That
it went
came
away.
later." Right, and then it disappeared instantly. Or when Red One's X-wing got shot down, like it sparked and burned and then crashed into his flame. Like, dude, all right. I mean, they were doing practical effects then with like models that if they set them on fire, they were gonna burn for a couple of seconds. I mean, like there's some subtlety and context here. But like, and now with like modern sci-fi audiences, like people like geekdom is hip to those kind of how things work in a lot of ways, like about how there's no fire in open space, and how if you blow somebody out an airlock, they don't swell and explode like they did in 80s flicks. It would be more like the expanse where like you freeze and crystallize. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like like the audience is more mature, not more mature maybe, but I mean they're a little bit more advanced with the science side of things, you know. So the fire in space really chaps my ass. The other thing that royally chaps my ass, because it's a massive missed opportunity, is if they wanted to do the twin thing, why not have May's face masked all the way for 3 or 4 episodes, and then
And
have
not
that be a
reveal it so
mid-season
soon.
reveal? Yeah, and to double down on that point, dude, if you're not going to do something like that, and you want to really draw the distinction between these two people, change their hairstyles. It's the same hairstyle down to the color
No, the one has the mark.
uh, under the braids that you see for the whole rest of the show, except for the one scene where they move the damn hair out of the way and you see the mark. That's it.
The hair's even the
Yeah,
same color.
it is. It's the
Like
same color.
the same things are in it. They
Yes,
didn't change any of it.
it's the same thing. It's the same thing. They did not think to style it different, to CGI like a shaved head or like or throw in a wig. I don't know. Keep her hood up, keep the hair back so you don't know, keep her face dude. Nope. So I got to thinking in the show, well, maybe May is intentionally trying to frame the other one. Like, okay, that's a backstabby thing to try and do. Like, that's some gangster shit right there. But we realize an episode later that like this dipshit thinks that OSHA's the one that died. So she wasn't trying to frame her sister. She was legit on the revenge kick. So there was no frame job. And this is the shit that these guys like you and I, when we spitball project ideas, like if you say something dumb, or it's more often I say something dumb, but like you're like, dude, that wouldn't work. Here's why, or this is how that should be. And like I give you the same thing like when you send me synopses on some of the things you start up. I'm like, all right, that's good, but this has to be formatted a little different. This needs to work like this. That way people aren't confused. Like that's just two of us, two guys. These clowns have a writer's room with like 12 people in it, allegedly professionals that have, writing credits on things.
Well,
And
you
they
know
miss
the
basic shit like this.
you know the only thing that
I said
qualifies you as a
allegedly.
professional, right? You have to get paid to
That you're
do it.
actually writing and getting paid.
No,
Right.
once you get paid to do it, you're a professional. The
I've been
difference
paid to
between
write.
a
Does that make me a pro?
yeah, that's the
People bought my first book. Good
that is
numbers.
the difference between a professional and an amateur athlete is that pros get paid,
Yeah,
amateurs
that's
don't.
true. Well, I mean, until the NCAA did its thing, and now they kind of get
Yeah,
paid
and
for
they just
now they're
reruled their eligibility. They're college students.
they're no longer amateur athletes; they're now college athletes because they get
Yeah.
paid. That's on our other show, on our other channel that we're going to start someday. The sport Winter Wolfstand or King Z / Winter Wolfstangs. That'll be his channel. He'll do sports now. I don't know. We'll work on that later. But anyway, it's like, dude, how do they not pick these things up? Like when we crap on these shows, right? And the Disney ones in particular, we didn't do it to Percy Jackson. We didn't do it to Band of Brothers because these are good shows. Like the basic continuity stuff is asinine in this brand. Asinine, and it makes it tough to watch. Like the other, and I'm gonna let you go hard in like 5 minutes. Let me get one more point in that episode before I forget from the beginning because you mentioned Carrie Ann Moss. We've seen now in the last two shows on this garbage, lightsabers of flesh wounds, right? I mean, Sabine got stabbed 3 times. Ahsoka got stabbed. This one got stabbed. The only person that's died from a fucking lightsaber wound at this point is Qui-Gon Jinn. How do they bring his ass back? I don't know.
Right? Oh, he did as a Force ghost.
As ghost. I mean, like, no, back to life after being in a bacta tank, after being incinerated with a lightsaber wound to the gut. It's apparently survivable. Carrie Ann Moss died to a throwing dagger to the chest. Like that's
it. Was to the heart. It was to the heart. It was straight in the heart.
That's dead center at the strongest point of the breastbone, but that's neither here nor there. I mean, maybe she's an alien, the heart's somewhere else. Maybe it's close to the middle and she has no breastbone. I don't know. Dude, it's stupid. It's fucking stupid. There are no rules on this show in this universe anymore that make things make sense or have any kind of weight when it happens. And that's an instantaneous way to get me not to give a fuck about your show. But I don't give me some things you liked and didn't like. Let me drink half of this god awful energy drink. I'm not going to say the brand and get in trouble, but it's not good. But I spent $4 for it, so I'm going to drink it.
Okay, well, you drink your explosive energy drink there. Am I right?
I hope it's not. I hope it's
okay.
Not explosive.
No, okay.
If I bounce quick and go to the avatar, you'll know.
So what Disney Star Wars has done is destroyed the trust it has with its viewers. And by trying to change everything and not meet the expectations that the viewers should have coming to a show, knowing that there are, well, now 9 movies, 3 of the middle ones, which is all the nostalgia that brings people back to watch the other one. So you have a really good trilogy with the original one. Then you have it's actually gotten better because the other ones are so bad.
Dude,
Uh,
people say that
the
all the time now. It's weird,
Yeah.
but they're
Uh,
right.
and well, George Lucas still had creative control then, and like this was his creation. This whole universe was his creation, and he's made like he's come out publicly a lot lately about all the changes to Star Wars and how he
Oh yeah.
wouldn't have done it ways it would have how it's been done. So what's good about this show is that they are trying to bring in a new audience. They're trying to go away from people who watch the original movies. They're trying to reach those teens. And I was there and I'm just thinking, I'm like, what does this show remind me of? This show reminds me of something that was written for the CW in the early 2000s or late 2000, like the 20 teens with like Riverdale. Like the great
Oh, jeez.
scene where this kid is talking about like he lost his dad and he lost his mom and his grandfather's like a drug addict, and then you have Archie go with, and you don't know the joys of playing Riverdale football. That's the type of writing we're talking about here.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
it's not good writing. I think some of the performances are cashed in. I mean, you would expect more from some of these actors. I mean, you have the guy from Squid Games being Soul, and like every piece of dialogue feels like it's like the depths of his soul just to speak. Like he shows no joy at all. Like being a Jedi is just such a great burden. Like you should retire.
Dude, for real, dude. And that's Disney Jedi in a nutshell, dude. I didn't even think of that. Like they're all the same thing. They're all
Yeah.
pissed off older people that aren't happy about anything. Why is that the case?
And then you have the new Jedi who just passed his trials. You know, he's the the attractive, styled
Yeah.
hair, early
The only one that took his
20s.
shirt off. Just
Yeah, of
saying.
course. Yeah, take your shirt off.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, come on, Matthew McConaughey made a career out of it.
Yep. But
Uh,
my point is that once again, if it was the attractive female lead that remotely had a revealing outfit on, male gaze, toxic masculinity, all that good stuff. This dude can have 0% body fat and and a 12-pack set of abs, and not a single article is going to be written about that. The same way a single article wasn't written about Thor being, bare ass and chained to a floor in Love and Thunder. That's fine, but can't do that the other way. Can't do it. Continue
oh,
with that character description, please.
so,
This message
but
brought to you
he's
by
like,
Thor's bare ass.
and yeah, so he's like the friend, but he's still trying to do his, like he's the, how would I put this, this is the young lieutenant fresh out of academy who thinks he knows everything because he went to the academy.
He'd be spitting policy a lot in
Yeah.
both episodes. But did you pick up a detail on him though, where like the very first thing when we meet him is that he's apologizing for a previous failure and he's going to make it up to Master Saul? Like that's early in episode, very early in
Mhm.
episode 1, like when we're literally first meeting the Jedi team. And I'm like, okay, and to see again that's there's two ways to look at that. It's mystery box. Like, are we actually going to hear about like at some point what went wrong, the specific mistake you made, so we can see if you overcome it or if you don't learn and you repeat it, which would be what we call characterization. You know what I mean? It's development, it's growth or failure, or the arc, the redeeming arc and the fall arc. You know what I mean? That's writing, that's conventions of writing. Or is it just a setup that the only allegedly capable male on the show that's under the age of 1,000 um, sucks and will be the comic relief. And then we get stabs of that.
Mm.
The Padawan makes jokes at his expense in a
Which
couple of places.
that never would have happened. I mean, look at Obi-Wan
Yep.
Qui-Gon Jinn relationship,
That's
Qui-Gon Jinn to Yoda relationship.
the only time that works is when it's Ahsoka to Anakin, because that was unique. That was her
Mm.
entire shtick, is that every now and again she talked out of pocket to the master and then got slapped down a little bit.
Because she
But she
was
would have
like
never spoke
Anakin,
out to another. Right.
because they
Exactly.
both started their
Reason.
training later in life.
Yes.
They did not start
Exactly.
as a true youngling.
exactly. But in this case, it just comes across as okay. So this really is because I wasn't going to say, and I still don't think it is. I don't think this is a force is female show yet. It's going there because I've seen some stuff. I've seen some spoilers about 3. I'm not going to spoil it for you. I'm not even going to mention them at all beyond that. It's going in that direction though. But right now it's not there. And I think they very cleverly played their hand in developing this show in the same way that sometimes series go season 1, we go, oh, hey, this is pretty good. And then like The Boys or Umbrella Academy or Invincible, the rug gets pulled out and then season 2 introduces the politics that maybe the audience didn't want and then numbers fall off. I think they applied that model here to the first 2 episodes. They tried to shoehorn as much of that out, except for that one reference about Osha's parents. Did you catch that
Mm,
early on?
mm, mm-mm,
Where Master Soul is recanting what happened to her. Your home burned down, everybody died, your mother's plural, your
mm.
sister. You know what I mean? See, you said that on purpose. That was a tactical decision. You could have just said parents. That's all you needed to say. Like how when you said in several of our videos, sexuality is not a personality trait. It's not a character defining trait in dramatic fiction. It does nothing for progressing story unless you're actually trying to tell that story.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Because there's no difference between saying parents, dads, mothers, uncles, sisters. That's it. All you had to do was say parents to cover it all.
yeah.
You specifically made the word choice. And so they hinted right off the rip there. I don't know where I was going with that. I just thought I needed to point that out in terms of the some of the obnoxious character stuff in there with that particular character. But
Well,
go
we've
ahead,
been
bud. Yeah.
going for about
Sorry.
37 minutes on this. I think we should start wrapping this up.
Yeah, definitely.
So I want to do a segment right now at the very end of this is where do you see it going? What do you see happening in the next 6 episodes? Like story wise, not like
Yeah.
prediction of how good it's going to be, but story wise.
Yeah, I think that they're gonna let May probably knock off one more target. I don't think she gets Saul. I think she fails in her mission. I think that beyond that, I don't know. I don't think we're gonna get a clear look at her master, the guy that we were talking about that they kind of revealed. I think there's a lot of mystery boxes that are gonna be in there, and they're gonna try to play that off like they were intentionally trying to be vague. And that it didn't that none of it mattered. It was just more about the story of the sisters probably reunifying to destroy, I don't know, the Jedi, like the Green Jedi. Maybe she's responsible for a conspiracy. Because remember the one guy we didn't talk about that died in episode 2, the second master she kills. He's been in like a forced coma meditation thing for like a decade. Doesn't speak,
Yeah.
doesn't eat, doesn't shit,
Since
whatever.
pretty much since
Since the
the
incident. It's
incident
since the incident
that
because he had involvement. We're gonna see him again in a flashback. That's in one of the trailers. So we know there's context gonna be given. But
because you're
she
going to see that
kills
because
him
he
by
has the scars.
because he
You see
and
the
then he has
scars
no
around the
and then he has
eyes.
no scars in the flashback, right? So she brings him a poison and it's like, yeah, you're in your coma, or whatever. I can offer you absolution. And then he comes out of the coma. He's like, la di da da do. I've been waiting for you. Forgive me. And then he drinks the fucking poison. So they'll
Yeah.
they'll reveal that these 4 Jedi were corrupt or some bullshit, and maybe Saul didn't want in on it. And the 2 sisters will have to girl power it up at the end to try to kill Saul. But I bet they kill the green chick, who was probably the head of the but no, they can't because she didn't know that she had a twin.
Yeah,
That wasn't in the
because
file. Interesting.
well,
I'm
yeah,
not
that
sure
was
then.
the twin wasn't in the file, and they
Which
believe
which she would
the
be.
sister died, and then on the other side, they believe the other sister
Right.
died. So
So I don't know. Maybe it's they both team up to kill the dark side master, and then that's how again that like how is there a Sith 100 years before the original trilogy? But then when we get to the prequel trilogy, but then when we get there, Yoda's telling Qui-Gon, we ain't seen a Sith in 1,000 years. So maybe they team up and kill him and bury the knowledge of that chapter of Sithing. That way the universe is back to peace until Sidious does his thing or something. I don't know. Good. I mean, we're gonna watch the whole thing. We'll see the whole story pan out, but I don't think it'll make a whole lot of sense. I don't think it'll be fulfilling. And if episodes 3 and 4 are kind of what I've heard they're gonna entail, it's gonna destroy Star Wars. And anybody that was thinking about getting off the bus is just gonna go. And this should be it for them for live action for a while. I'll say that much. What do you think? Where do you think this is going? Because you're pretty
I
good at this. You're pretty good at predicting beats.
so I believe that this is going to dig deeper into that conspiracy, and it's going to justify the Sith and then the burning of the Jedi Temple in episode 3.
In
Like,
movie episode 3
yeah,
or show episode 3?
and movie episode 3.
Yeah, but by the time we get there, it's 100 years later. You know what I mean? That's
It
Anakin and
still, I mean, you
Sidious.
have people who can live long. I mean, these are not normal
Yeah,
human lives.
that's true. I guess that's
And
fair.
remember, if you remember to the emperor when he's talking to Anakin, he said that they had a Sith that lived over 1,000 years. What's his name?
Vegas.
Uh, yeah, or is it Platypus? Sith, Darth
Plagueis was
Platypus.
Plagueis was the one that taught and who taught what's his name that became Palpatine.
Yeah,
Plagueis was his master. What the hell was his name?
but yeah, he lived like for 1,000
That
years,
guy. Yeah,
and this might be
true.
Plagueis.
Oh god, so it's one more character that they decanonized out of a book and said wasn't real, and because they have no source material, they needed source material to
Yeah.
cannibalize. Dude, then you know what? Then my last word on this show will be: I went into this, and despite my Facebook rant, went into this with mostly an open mind because I said if you go back to our old videos and watch, right, we've seen what they did with Legacy Star Wars. They took all our
Mhm.
toys and they broke them. They didn't know how to play with them. They hated them. I don't know why all of a sudden they hated them. People have loved these characters, these stories forever. Men, women, black, white, gay, straight, alien, Martian, whatever, right? This show is unique. It's that side's first attempt to do what they should have done, something wholly original, all original characters, locations, no connection at all to prequel trilogy and onward. Keep it in your own lane and let's see what you got. Bring your A game to this show. And then I can say, damn, I was wrong. This chicken right. Like she told a pretty damn good, compelling story. At surface value, Kill Bill, interesting story. Frozen, interesting story about two sisters and one being ostracized. There was some concepts to work with there. But from what I've seen through 2 episodes, it's fucking amateur hour in there. Amateur fucking hour from dialogue to a couple of the performances. The only people that I'm giving credit to at this point are the usual suspects we give credit to, dude. Your friends, behind the camera, the sound guys, the lighting chicks, craft services, costuming, all that stuff looked great. Set designs look great. Like I'm like, oh shit, this for being shot with the fancy, what do they call it? It's called volume or whatever. It's like it's the newest iteration of how they shoot these things on those
Mhm.
stages, so they don't need to build shit. I thought it looked
Yeah.
okay. Choreography was mostly good, like you said, but the important stuff, the stuff that you can't overlook, like we can overlook old Trek for looking cheesy, even by today's standards, like because it told a great story. And I said Star Trek intentionally there. But this stuff, it's like it doesn't matter how pretty this is. Like if you tell a garbage story spoken in garbage dialogue, performed by garbage performances, I don't give a fuck what it sounds like or what it looks like. It's just gonna annoy me. And that's where I'm at with that 2 episodes of that. Give me some final words for you, dude. I commandeered as usual. I apologize.
All right, so final words are that so far on Rotten Tomatoes, which of course is owned by Disney, the
Hmm.
critics have given this a 93%, where the audience has given it a 38%.
That's
Uh,
down from 54% at 2 p.m. when I looked today. So as more
yeah,
people got home from work and were able to watch this shit, it bombed.
let's see. And the pulling up the Google one, it is a 2.1 star review out of 5, with the majority being 1 stars.
Mhm.
There's a
And they're
there's,
gonna
there's
tell you, dude. Yeah,
the
go ahead.
second highest is 5 stars, but the highest is 1 stars.
And they're gonna tell you that all of those 1-star reviews are bots, that it's review bombing. And I'm like, nope. Because Rings of Power proved this conclusively, where people had original reviews for that crap show that Amazon took down and told them, like paragraph long reviews that specifically cited reasons why it wasn't that people didn't enjoy the show. They were removed to preserve a rating.
Yeah.
You know what I
If
mean? So we know these numbers are manipulated.
if
They're
these
not
are
bots.
if these are bots, then these reviews are wicked long for bots to
Yep.
write.
People paid a pretty penny for bot farming, and we know for a fact that's not how that works. Not how that works. Bots are on the cheap.
Li- Like we're looking at like one of them is 6 paragraphs long of why this is
Yep.
bad.
Yep. Because exactly, like if I wanted to do if I was review bombing or review brigading, because they don't want to talk about that. They don't want to talk about the actual bot farms that Disney buys that we've proven have been purchased by Disney to prop up these ratings for garbage when they put it out. Marvel and Disney and Star Wars alike. Greatest show ever. Anybody that writes those 5 words or that actually uses DEI terminology in the review itself, forgetting it's fake because nobody's tuning into this show for that. Because I refuse to believe that people that don't look like me absolutely have to see people like themselves to become attached to an idea, a concept, or an emotion. They don't. I'm sorry. They
Mm-mm.
don't. That's not how people work. We're not monoliths, you know? Not happening. There are plenty of black fans that didn't like Kenobi because of the Reva performance. And there are going to be plenty of people that don't identify as hetero that aren't going to like this show. Period. End of discussion.
And apparently this guy's original post was deleted, so he reposted again.
Good. Because we need to do that. They need to be sent the message. If this is the best they have, this brand is in trouble because these jackasses couldn't even get it right when like the table had been set the proper way for them with all the classic stuff. Now they're on their own devices. And when this bombs, and it's gonna bomb, they're gonna tell you by the end of the day tomorrow that this show had 27 gajillion watch minutes. It was the most viewed thing on Tuesday night at 3 a.m. in the
Of
history of Disney
course,
Plus. And it's gonna be
of
true.
course it is
And
because
it's
it's
gonna be true because
new.
it's new Star Wars.
Yeah.
But and again, to use the Rings of Power connection, and then we're gonna bounce. Much like Rings of Power, when we get to the end of the season, you know, 8 episodes later, and we're going to get into like August when they release whatever numbers we get a hold of, we're going to see less than 30% of people finish the show. Most of us are going to check out after episode 3 or 4 at the latest. And then it's going to be the remaining people that enjoy it and people like us that are going to watch it just to talk about it. But most people are getting off this bus because it's beyond pathetic. Dude, read us out of here. I'm fired up, and I'm going to go get something to eat. I'm hungry.
All right, so that will wrap up our review of episode 1 and 2 of the Acolyte that dropped on June 4th. The next episode will be next Tuesday, 9 p.m. Episode 3. Now they're going to be doing one at a time instead of the initial 2 like they did with this one. So if you want to go watch it, go watch it. Let us know what you thought of it. Leave a comment in the bottom, and we will reply to you from a galaxy closer to home. So I think that should do it. Thanks for coming along.
We got to work on that. That was okay, but we can do better. Bye, guys.